Now, I have just really three objectives for the talk tonight. The first one would be to give you a little background on the author of this book. Most of you know me from some area of my life. Some are my golfing buddies, some are my boating friends, some of you are my clients of the firm. And so what I hope that you learn in the first section of this is something about Rick Rodgers that you didn't know before. The second part of this, I want to go through why I wrote the book, and I'd like to conclude with what I hope that everybody will take, would learn from this book, and go forth and do. I was born in York County, raised around Hanover. I grew up on a farm. My dad was a farmer all of his life, and to this day still puts out a garden. Now, my dad didn't just farm, he was also an entrepreneur and did various other businesses that he was involved in. My grandfather was a farmer, and his father was a farmer, and his father was a farmer who came over from Ireland. So one thing that you may not know about Rick Rodgers is that Rodgers with a D is an Irish name. Rodgers without a D is a German name. So a long line of farmers, but my grandfather lost his farm in the Great Depression. My dad is number 6 of 15 children. And so my grandparents were poor. My grandmother, when my grandfather died of pancreatic cancer in his early 60s, did not have a roof over her head. It was the kids that went together and bought her a mobile home, then put it on one of their properties, and that's where she lived until she died in her 80s. But this had a profound impact, I believe, on my father. My father, his idea of wealth, of financial success, of how you handle money, can be summed up in that in order to achieve financial success, you must spend money on absolutely nothing. Unless you absolutely have to. And I think one of the best stories that would be an example of this is when we were having a cookout at our house and we did not have a grill. So most of you would probably just run down to Walmart or to Kmart and pick up a grill for 20 bucks and a bag of charcoal and some lighter fluid, and away you were. We were all ready for the 4th of July. Not my dad. We went down to the dump, found a 55-gallon drum, drugged that home. He cut it in half with an acetylene torch, found a grate from a used refrigerator, and we went down to the wood pile, got some kerosene, and we were grilling. Why spend money on things that you don't have to? Until he started on dialysis, my dad's routine after he was retired would be to get up in the morning and go down to the family diner, and he would sit there and drink coffee and debate politics with all his cronies and his buddies, and then he would come home and my mom would make him breakfast. And I said, Dad, why can't you spend $1 on an egg sandwich? Oh, well, they can't make them as good as your mom. Yeah, right. Okay. I've eaten my mom's food, let me tell you. So, but because of this, I grew up thinking that we were poor. Now, looking back, I knew that we were pretty much middle class, that we didn't really go without, although, you know, we went until things were worn out. But I always thought that I was poor. And so when I was about 13, I had decided that I wanted to have money when I got older. And so if I was going to have money, I needed to be around people that had money, and what professions would be around money. And the first thing I thought of was banking. And that seemed boring. I'm sorry. I know some of you are in the banking business. It just didn't seem boring. And I thought investments. Yeah, investments. Stockbroker, that sounds exciting. So at 13, I started getting my hands on the Business Week, on Forbes magazine, getting my hands on the Wall Street Journal. And I figured out that really what I needed was a background in economics. And so I was going to go to college and get a degree in economics. And that's how I was going to launch my career in the investment field. So at some age, probably 15 or 16, I went to my dad and I said, Dad, I want to go to college and I want to be an economist. And he said, no. Okay. Now, we did not go against my dad. So he didn't say no and explain it. It was no. I learned very early on that when I asked my dad something, if he didn't want me to do it, he could give me 3 reasons why I shouldn't have it and then make me feel bad for asking. So, okay, what do you think I should do? You need a trade. If you have a trade, you will always have a job. Okay. I'd like to be a carpenter. Jesus was a carpenter. I mean, so I like working with wood, so I want to be a carpenter. Dad said, no. Okay, I want to be a mason. A mason. Okay, I want to be a mason. What's a mason? A mason, you know, a bricklayer, bricklayer, stonemason, laying blocks, laying bricks. He said they make more money than a carpenter, and we need them, and after all, that's what you're going to be. So off to Votech I went, and 3 years I spent in Votech, and I graduated. And here's a second thing that you may not know about Rick Rodgers, because Dad forbid me to go to college. So I do not have a PhD in economics. I do not have a master's in financial planning, like Mr. Campbell. I don't have a bachelor's degree. I don't have an associate's degree. I have a certificate in trowel trades. I lay brick. I lay block. Now, you're thinking probably, how does this connect with financial planning? But it really does, if you bear with me, because, I mean, you want to have a solid foundation, a solid financial foundation, and that's what bricklaying and block laying is.